So welcome to this episode of Monopoly in Real Life, and today I get the amazing opportunity to sit with Lynn Zielasko and talk about real estate and some of her story, and it's pretty amazing. She's not just a realtor, and she's not someone who just like overnight became a success. So we're gonna have some fun. She's with Keller Williams in Marysville and been there since the beginning of her career and has got to work with some really amazing mentors. And so, Lynn, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
It's going to be fun.
Okay.
So one of the things I want to talk about is just your background, because a lot of people think, when they see successful people that it's just an overnight thing, right? And your particular story is really compelling, and we kind of talked about it a little bit. So we don't have to go back to infancy, but we can talk about, basically how you got into this and how you started and some of the bigger hurdles you had to jump and where you're at today.
Okay. Well, I'm a Lake Stevens native. I have been in Snohomish County my entire life. I literally went from the south side of Lake Stevens to the north side of Lake Stevens, and now I live in Machias. So I haven't gotten far. I like this area, although I am over the rain. But I started my life kind of early and had a baby at 17. She was born and in the NICU for 30 days.
Wow. I
had to grow up really fast. Her dad and I then bought a house when I was 18. So I've been a homeowner since I was 18. So it's really important to me and to my kids, home ownership. Yeah. So we bought our first house when I was 18. It was in Sultan. Right on the river, on Dyer Road.
Yeah. And Sultan is now currently the hotbed of land development and construction.
Crazy, isn't it? I mean, I think we paid $142,000 for that house, and that was in 98, 96. I don't know. Anyway, It was in the late 90s. But
crazy times.
So sold that house, bought a house up in Glen Eagle.
Okay.
I didn't realize that I didn't like neighbors until I moved to Glen Eagle. And now I would love to live in Glen Eagle. However, that was very short-lived. Lived there for a year and a half. Started getting my real estate license. And let me back up. We bought that house. It was for sale by owner.
Okay.
And then we actually sold that house for sale by owner. And we purchased the house that I just sold a year ago. So I lived in it for 21 years for sale by owner. So I was getting my feet wet, and I was 20, 21, so I was pretty young, but it was home ownership. I wanted to be a homeowner.
Right.
And that sort of catapulted, I was like, I want to buy investment properties, I want to do this, I want to do that. Well, things happen, life happens, and so then you have to restart. I actually did hair for my first career. So I've always been, self-employed, entrepreneur. I did work for a minute at a couple of the chain salons, and I was always the top sales for, the shampoos and the conditioners and the hairspray. So I always had that competitiveness because I always wanted who was going to get that extra bonus,
right.
The commission. So anyway, had 2 more kids, kind of stayed at home. And then in 2005, I decided I finally wanted to get my real estate license.
Okay.
I had gotten my feet wet with my first 2 houses that we had bought for sale by owner, bought and sold. And actually the gal that was babysitting my kids was working at Keller Williams. And she said, oh, they're amazing. They have all this training and technological, blah-de-blah-de-blah. And Marysville Keller Williams was very new. And so I went and I talked to Dory Murray, who was my very first team leader, and she's no longer with us, but she was an amazing individual, and she helped me kind of get on my path. I was on a team for a short time, and I thought, I don't need to be on a team. I can do this solo. And then I got divorced, decided that I'm going to buy my first investment property. I closed on that investment property in August of 2007. And
brutal time. Actually, 2007 was awesome. It was 6 months later.
Till June, and then shit hit the fan. So yeah, I actually, amazingly enough, I was able to buy that house with 0 down. because I had an 800 plus credit score.
Okay.
So it was one of those loans.
Nice. Yes.
One of those
We're
things.
not going back to this.
Took a second out on my house, rehabbed this house, and then found that I couldn't rent it for what my payment was. And then just like that, I had my very first foreclosure. And you know what? You learn a lot from those things. The real estate market was horrible, as you know. And
PTSD is alive and well.
holy cow. So I learned how to do BPOs, which are broker price opinions. I started working with Anton Stetner, who is one of my very good friends and mentors, and has literally kicked my ass for the last 15 years. And he's very humble, but he knows that he is a big part of my success. So I probably did, I don't know, I'm going to say between 3,000 and 5,000 BPOs. So today I can bust out a CMA on a house in about 2 minutes.
Nice. So just I'm going to pause for a second for the listening public. Why would you do a BPO? Who gets a BPO?
So all of the houses that were going into foreclosure, short sales, that because that was the market back then, instead of the banks hiring appraisers paying $500 a pop,
Right.
they
could get
hired
you
the
for
starving
free.
real estate agents to do a BPO for anywhere from $35. It was typically $35 to $50 each. If you
Right.
did an interior, it was $70-ish. And I was doing, like anywhere from $50 to $100 a month-ish, sometimes more. But you had to drive around, take pictures, go back, do the report, type it all up, and you had a time frame. Usually it was a 48-hour turn time.
Right.
But that's what put food on my table. I was a single mom. I had three little kids, and I did it. I was cutting hair, and I was doing BPOs, and the off chance that somebody actually wanted to buy a house, I was also the real estate agent. But yeah, it was slim pickings.
Those
out
were
there.
tough times.
It
A
was.
lot of people don't realize, and we're in a very wonky space right now with limited inventory and buyers' ability to buy, things like that. So you have to have some of that feeling coming up right now, I would think,
Yeah.
with where we're at. But people don't realize that, particularly in your story, you were at the very bottom of this lifetime event, right? And how painful and how much your backup experiences that you had up to that point had to help you navigate to get through those times.
Yes. I mean, the struggle is real. And I feel like in this industry, you have to be a hustler. You have to be tenacious. You have to not be scared of what if. You just have to be able to do it, because this is a commission only. If you don't sell a house, you don't get paid.
And your kids don't eat.
And your kids don't eat. And I mean, I went through 2 loan modifications on my own house. I almost lost it. I actually listed it as a short sale at one point. I was just at the end of my rope. It was like, what else can I do? I can't take anymore. I went and got a school bus driving job that lasted 6 months. And you know me, you know that I do not belong driving a school bus. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, the kids probably got a really good education.
Well, it was definitely an experience for sure.
Yeah.
And then things kind of started changing, and I was then on a team again, and learning a lot of the REO side as the listing and the buyer side of the REOs, not just the BPOs.
So pause again. REOs, real estate owned. That's a bank term. When a bank takes back a property, it's REO. So kind of elaborate a little bit on that, if you will.
So the team that I was on, Anton's team, he met up with all these banks, and they had all these properties that needed to be sold.
Right.
And most of these properties were not pretty. They were
They were ugly by the time the bank got them. I mean, people were ripping out. They were ripping out plumbing.
Cabinets, ripping out plumbing, using the bathtub as a toilet. I mean, you saw it all. It was horrible, and it was full of stuff, and, people, squatters, and you never know what you were going to walk into. So it's not like these were woo-woo, bougie houses. These were scary houses. So I learned, kind of all aspects of that And in 2013, I kind of felt like I was getting my momentum back, stepped off that team back into just being a solo agent.
Right.
And literally just took my income up and up and up and up. And I started having a little bit more self-awareness.
Okay.
I got remarried, and then I got divorced. I also had a baby at age 39. I have 3 children right now who are almost grown, and then I have a 4-year-old. So right now I have a 27-year-old daughter named Macy, and I have 2 grandkids, Sawyer and Reagan. Sawyer is 6, Reagan is 3.5. I have a 20-year-old son who is a sophomore at Skagit Valley College. He plays baseball. He's on a scholarship. And then I have an 18-year-old son who is a senior in high school and will be graduating this year. And then I have a 4-year-old. She'll be 5 in 2 weeks, but she's my, yep. So I'm 44, and here we go again.
Well, we have a saying at our house. It's, we plan, God laughs.
Right.
And,
Yep.
Blessings all the way around.
She definitely keeps me on my toes. It's a lot different being a parent at 44 than it was at 17. I have a lot more, I'd like to say I have a lot more patience. I don't know, maybe on certain things. I'm not so worried about going out and getting muddy. I'm not so worried about, whether she eats all of her breakfast or not. It's...
You figure out the battles you want to fight for each
and
child.
that is what I say all the time is pick your battles.
Yeah, pick your battles.
So when Kennedy was just over a year, I filed for divorce again. That was probably one of the hardest situations I have ever gone through. To back up a little bit, so Kennedy was born at the beginning, or in April of 2017. I had been at Keller Williams since 2005. We were going through team leaders, and I was on the ALC, which is the Agent Leadership Council Committee, whatever you want to call it, the board of directors, whatever. And we needed a team leader. And so Anton was the OP. He sends out this email, and he says, who do you know who could potentially be a good team leader? And so I jokingly send an email back, and I was like, I don't know, maybe me. I was thinking about it. A little part of me was serious. A lot of me was like, yeah, right. Well, like 2 hours later, Anton calls me, and he's like, are you serious? And I said, serious about what? He goes, the team leader position. And I was like, no, but yes, I don't know. Do you think I can do it? And so we went through the process, and I was the team leader for almost 2 full years. But I also was going through the worst divorce humanly possible. So
you're
there was
herding a bunch of cats over here and still dealing with a lot of home stuff over here.
Yeah, it was probably the hardest 2 years of my life. But I also am super grateful for having had those experiences, the education that I got, the struggle, and the you can do this, and the education. I mean, there's so much. Keller Williams as a whole, and I'm not trying to toot the KW horn, but that's the only horn that I know how to toot because I've never been anywhere else. But they offer so many different classes, and it's not just about how can you be a great real estate agent, but how can you be a good person, and finding you. So anyway, we got through 2018, and we got through 2019, and I just came to the point where, you know what, this is just not, I can't do this anymore. It was too much. And I now know about myself that I was not meant to sit in an office. I'm not an office dweller. I go a little stir crazy. It's like putting me in a jail cell, and I don't need to be in a jail cell. So I started back out as a single agent at the end of 2019, and 2020 January, I hired my very first. It wasn't my first coach because I had coaches, MAPS coaches, but it was my first coach that I hired, that I chose. She's still my coach. Her name's Lisa Zamuda, and she's amazing. Not only is she a business coach, but she's a life coach. And in life, I feel like we all need. We go to the gym. We need somebody telling us to get your ass to the gym. You know, we all need accountability partners for every aspect of our life. And the more coaches we have, the more successful our life is going to be. Because if you don't have that accountability, you know, it's hard to always hold yourself accountable.
Well, and I say the forest and the trees, right? When you're in it and you're in the mud and the muck and everything else of life, you can't see in. Right. And just, you know, have that unbiased opinion or coach to help you kind of navigate your way out. I mean, let's face it, professional athletes they pay millions of dollars to have coaches.
Absolutely.
You know, and so again, why wouldn't we be better, you know, have someone who can help us be better, whether it's being a better spouse or a better parent or better at what we do for a living.
For sure. I mean, we all want to be the best version of ourselves.
Right.
It's just hard to navigate through that and to get to that point. And we're, you know, where we are now is not where we're going to be in 5 years. And so it's always changing and revolving and, you know, hopefully getting better, not worse. So 2020, got my coach. I also started doing CrossFit in January of 2020. After 10 years of listening to Anton, you should do CrossFit, I finally said, fine, I will do it. And I actually loved it. And then the world shut down. Yes. So as 2020 was weird for everyone, I decided that I was going to move, and then I decided I wasn't going to move because lending changed. I decided to put my health first, and so I went and I bought workout equipment, and every morning my CrossFit gym put out a workout of the day, the WOD, and I did that, and you know, just tried to change my health. Right. And so that became very important to me, and it was also very good therapy for me through that. And through all the craziness of life, through 2020 was just...
And 2021. I mean, let's face it, we're all still dealing with it. I mean, it's
right. I mean, it's only been, a week since we don't have to wear our mask anymore?
Yeah.
And, well, we all know that I didn't wear my mask anyway, but... So I bought my first investment property in 2020. Okay. It was April, I believe. I found, I was over visiting my dad in Yakima, and we were having breakfast at this crappy little tavern in Sela, and he shoves the little nickel in front of me, and like, I mean, who still reads the little nickel, right? That's from way back when. And he goes, look, there's, for $170,000 is a for sale by owner duplex. You should call it. And he was just joking. Well, I ended up buying them. And I bought them on contract for $5,000 a piece. They held the contract. I ended up having to get a hard money loan. I learned a lot through that, and it was expensive. And I just refinanced out of it, and I'm finally cash flowing. And we just redid all the leases. I've redone 2 of the units. So I have 2 duplexes. They're mirror matching of each other in Yakima, in the not necessarily most desirable area. So the rents were all $650 a month. We've gotten them up to $900.
Nice.
So that's great. Tell me where you can find a $900 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment over here, because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. You can't even find a studio.
Right. So those were my first two investment properties. So that was 4 doors out the gate, $10,000 out of my pocket. I was like...
So these are 2 duplexes in Sela. So 4 doors.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's crazy great.
And people were like, how are you going to do it? I don't know. But I'm going to do it. They said they'd take $5,000 down. And so then I went to Mike Hansen and Anton and Rochelle. And I said, how am I going to do this? And so we figured out, and we did it and went through it and went to an attorney and wrote everything up. And that was my first 2. Fast forward about 6 months, I was driving down Machias Road, and I had lived in my house for 21 years. Driving down Machias Road, and I see an open house sign from one of my friends, one of the agents in the office. And I was like, I wonder what he's doing. I'm going to go see. So I stopped in, and there's these new construction houses that Mike's building. There's 9 houses. And I was like, wow. And for whatever reason, God, the universe, somebody said, hey, you should buy this house. So I went and I told my mom, who lives at the end of Machias Road, and I said, I just went to this house, and I feel like I should buy it. And she always thinks I'm nuts, which I am, truly. So I went back and I called Mike and I said, how can I do this? And, you know, and I talked to my lender friend, and we figured it all out. And I listed my house. I bought that house. I paid off all of my debt, because if you know me, you know
I think
that
you have a
I
penchant
love.
for vehicles.
I like vehicles.
Yeah.
I like new vehicles, and
Yeah.
I like expensive vehicles, and I don't like to put any money down on them. And so then it's negative equity, negative equity, negative equity, negative equity, and it just kills me. So I ended up making a good amount of money on the sale of my house that I had owned for a long time. Put 20% down on my purchase, paid off everything. So I have 0 loans, 0 debt other than mortgages. And I had to close a chapter of my life that I had for 20. I had raised my kids there. It was 6 acres. It was my happy place. The Centennial Trail was in my backyard, and you know, I'd go running and walking, and that was a piece of me I left in Lake Stevens.
Right.
Well, I managed to go 4.5 miles down the road, and Machias Trail, Centennial Trail is about 1,000 feet from my back door. So you changed
the chapter.
Changed the chapter, but then that opened up the opportunities to do so much more. I was able to buy a house in Orondo, in Sun Cove.
Okay.
I had spent a week at Wapato Point over in Chelan, Manson. And of course, for me, looking at houses is what is relaxing to me. So I'm drinking a glass of wine and looking at houses, and I'm like, this one looks interesting, and there's an open house. Not that I couldn't just let myself in anyway.
Right.
It was Memorial Day weekend last year, and my kids had come over, and so we all went over there. And if anyone's, I'm sure most people know what Sun Cove is. It's, well, Memorial Day weekend is a big fun time, and I was greeted by neighbors and boats and music and parties and all kinds of fun.
Sounds like home.
This feels really good. So I went through the motions of seeing if I could get pre-approved for that, and I did, and I made an offer, and I got it, and so I purchased that. So that's my second house.
So is that a full-time rental too, or is that a vacation rental?
They don't let you do it there unless you win the lottery.
Gotcha.
You have to put your name in the lottery, and well, unfortunately, I didn't win the lottery for this year. And so I thought I would test, because I'm more of the ask for forgiveness than ask for permission, and so I VRBO'd it a couple times, and then I got a $500 fine. So I thought, well, you know, that was kind of expensive.
They have their own police force, those HOAs.
They do,
Yeah.
and so that's no longer a thing. I will rent it to friends and family, and you know, people.
You mean
I
you'll
know.
let friends and family use it on occasion?
That. Yep.
Yes, and if they feel the need to reimburse you for their,
There you go. Yes, that's
then,
exactly
then
what
we
I
won't get
meant.
in trouble with the HOA. Been here, done this.
So, so we have that property, and then I love Leavenworth. I had previously with my previous marriage, we had purchased 2 houses out in Plain, and I was really sad about having to sell those houses.
Right.
And so I found this place. It's 2 miles east of Leavenworth. I was trying to buy it on contract from her during the summer, and it just didn't work out. And then she ended up listing it, and so I went back in, and I ended up getting that place. I worked it so that she paid the closing costs, and so I still got a commission. But this house is essentially a duplex.
Okay.
And it also has 2 RV spots. So you could really look at it as a 4-plex.
Right.
Because
well, especially during peak season, someone's going to rent those spaces.
so those RV spaces were rented for $900 a month.
Lord.
Now the payment on the house is not. It's not small, right?
Right,
So
right.
you know, but I have a full-time renter in the lower unit, and then the RV spaces, now that the snow is gone,
Right.
they're going to be re-rented again, and then I've been VRBOing the upper unit, and that's been going pretty well. March has been slow, but I've gotten a taste of what is it like to be a landlord. I've gotten a taste of what is it like to own a VRBO. I've gotten a taste of what it is like to be a buyer in this market and a seller in this market. And so working with my clients, I know firsthand what it's like, because it's stressful, it's scary, there's so many unknowns, and it's, death, divorce, and buying or selling a house are the most 3 stressful things in the world. So,
Well, and Lynn, that's why I wanted to bring you in, right? Because your breadth of experience, right? Your let's just face it, 95% of anybody who's going to listen to this has never even heard of buying something on a contract. They've never even heard of just putting yourself out there to see what options are available. And the vast majority of people are still trying to find their first home or figure out how to make that first one happen.
Right.
The whole thing for me with, the whole monopoly in real life is, helping people figure out how to get not only their first one, but those next ones.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the exact saying, but, surround yourself with great people.
Yeah.
Right. And with the mentors you have.
Like-minded.
Yeah, and help you go to those next levels. And, you mentioned Mike and Anton, and 2 great guys who have been around. And Rochelle, thank goodness, is there to help support both of them to keep them on track. Because those 2 are ADHD, I think. But, again, having those people around you, and you coming from where you came from and putting yourself out there to make these moves, that's such a compelling story that everybody can take something from.
Yeah.
Right? And so I just think that that's amazing. The fact that you took down 4 doors in Selah for the way you did it, that just takes me back to the 80s and 90s and all the stuff I was reading and watching, and DVDs and cassettes and things like that.
The Carlton Sheets?
Hey, Carlton Sheets is still my favorite. Out of all the criminals, he was the only one that wasn't a criminal and had the best program.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. Well, we're running out of time. So I just want to thank you for coming in and telling part of your story, but I think we're probably going to have some follow-ups because there's more stories to tell. To kind of wrap it, if you need someone who understands more than just how to write a purchase and sale agreement, but help you get ready for life, give her a call. Because, again, she's been here and done this and figured out the creative ways to do what you're probably thinking you want to do someday, right?
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Again, anything you want to add before you go?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and if you follow me on social media, I'm all about health, working out, investing. I don't want to single out single moms, but I've been a single mom more than I've been a married mom, and there's a lot of things that you can do if you surround yourself with the right people, get the right education, read the right books, find a good coach. Don't let anybody else tell you what to do, and who gives a shit what everybody else says.
Exactly.
Just do you.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I don't like the word no, so, I just...
exactly.
Mike, and I kind of joke about it, but Mike's one of those guys who just always said, find a way out of no way.
Yep.
Right? And I just think that's key. It's achievable. Figure it out. Found the right people to figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right.